is shaped or influenced by several variable policies need to align to national goals. Consider international commitment based on legal framework and respond to various social needs, issues, and problems. Science and technology policies ensure that the whole country and all the people will experience the progress that science can bring. Policies guide to direct all alert to goal of developing scientifically advanced country.
Famous Filipino in the field of science by Mediatrix P. Manaluz from AIS-2A. The first one is Dr. Rafael Dineres Guerrero III for his research on tilapia culture. He observed that one of the most prominent problems in tilapia culture is overpopulation. Tilapia matures after 2 to 3 months from its fry stage and can produce as much as 5,000 eggs every 3 months, depending on its size. The second one is Enrique Mapua Austria Jr. for inventing the meconium drug testing. He developed a meconium drug test which has been proven as one of the most sensitive tests to detect the presence of illegal substance in newborn. The third one is Lilian Formalejo Patena for doing research on plant biotechnology. Lilian Patena is a Filipino scientist who discovered a breed of calamansi and seedless pomelo and discovered microcoagulation which established the banana industry in the Philippines. The fourth one is Marijo Panganiban Ruiz for being outstanding educator and graph theorist. Marijo P. Ruiz is a Filipino mathematician, currently a professor emeritus of mathematics at Ateneo de Manila University. Ruiz specialized in graph theory and operations research. The last one is Gregory Ligot Tangonan for his research in the field of communication technology. Greg has been one on the leading edge of technology, conducting pioneering research, providing real-world technology solutions, and responsible for innovation strategy, conceptualization, and execution of HRL's research programs with collaborators worldwide. Thank you.
Human resource development. It is a practice that combines training, organization development, and career development. Efforts to encourage improvement of individual, group, and organizational performance. Human resource development is at the heart of these efforts, focusing on producing more engineers, scientists, technology experts, doctors, and other professionals in the country. Now, let's move on to the next topic. The development of science and technology in the Philippines. Based on its brief history, it is shaped by several factors and influences. Like in the history of science in other countries, it is always shaped by human and social activities, both internal and external. In internal influences, number 1, survival. Number 2, culture. And number 3, economic activities. And also, there are 3 external influences. Number 1, foreigner colonizer. 2, trade with foreigner countries. And 3, international economic demand. Science and technology may have a significant impact on the lives of the people and in the development of the Philippine society. However, improving the quality of science education still remains as a big challenge in the country. School science basic education to graduate education is improving slowly, and there are only few students enrolling in science and technology courses.
Okay. There are also other existing programs supported by the Philippine government through the DOS. Some of these projects are the following. First, the NICER program capacitates higher education institutions in the region to make significant improvement in regional research by integrating its development need with the existing R&D capabilities and resources. Second, are the LEAD program. The R&D leadership program complement the establishment of R&D centers through the NICER program. RD Lead provide the mechanism to bring in expert and highly skilled professionals with strong leadership. Third, the CRADL program, the collaborative research and development to leverage Philippine economy. Program is specifically designed to foster collaboration between academy and local companies to improve competitiveness and catalyze innovation. It aims to improve the country innovation ecosystem by facilitating the smooth transition of new technologies from universities and research and development institute to industries, from lab to market. BIST program. The Business Innovations through S&T for Industry program aims to level up the innovation capacity of the Philippine industrial sector through R&D by helping private companies and industries acquire novel and strategic technologies, such as state-of-the-art equipment and machinery, technology licenses, and patent right, among others. And then providing funds for basic research and patent related to science and technology. The government fund basic and applied researches. Funding of this research and project are also from the Overseas Development Aid ODA from different countries, and providing scholarship for undergraduate and graduate studies of students in the field of science and technology. Saloma 2015 pointed out that the country needs to produce more doctoral graduates in the field of science and technology, and produce more research in these fields, including engineering, and establishing more branches of the Philippines Science High School system for training young Filipinos in the field of science and technology. That's all. Thank you.
There are other scientists in the Philippines who were not identified in the list yet. The Philippines still need more scientists and engineers, and there is need to support scientific research in the country. The University of the Philippines, Los Baños, is a science paradise for agriculture, forestry, plant and animal science, and veterinary science. It has produced numerous scientists and various research in the fields mentioned. The University of the Philippines, Visayas is also a national center for marine science, fisheries, and other related science. The University of the Philippines, Manila is a center of excellence and has produced many researchers, doctors, health professions, and scientists in the area of medical and public health. The University of the Philippines, Diliman, also has established a national science and engineering complex to develop more research and produce more scientists and engineers in the country. The government must find ways to establish more research laboratories and research institutes. There is also need to find ways on how the researches are disseminated to the public. Many of these Filipino scientists are product of good school science. It means they were taught and inspired by great teachers. Their interest in science started to manifest during their childhood years. Many Filipino scientists, whether they are in the country or abroad, always excel in their job. The Filipino spirit in their souls has never faded. They continue to bring honor to the country.
Hello everybody, my name is Ricame B. Felix, and in today's video, I will be talking about indigenous science and technology in the Philippines. But first, let me give you a brief overview of how indigenous science was developed in the Philippines. In early times, Filipinos have always been curious about the things that they have in this world, and that curiosity has led them to invent resources that will aid them in their daily lives. They have also created alternative theories for understanding different phenomena. Indigenous knowledge is very important because it is the foundation or the basis for us to have an indigenous science. The things or the fact that young children gathered in their everyday life experiences and the things that their parents taught to them are referred to as indigenous science. All the lessons that they learn is being blended with their culture and atmosphere. This was shown in their songs, dances, and even in their poetry. Here are some of examples of indigenous knowledge that was being transferred up until now. First is that indigenous people were observing the behavior of animals and also the alignment of celestial body to predict seasons and weather conditions. Also, keeping the custom of growing plants and vegetables in the yard, and most of that plants was being used in herbal medicines to treat some illness. The product of the indigenous knowledge that was mentioned a while ago was the indigenous science. And when we say indigenous science, it is composed of traditional knowledge, practiced and valued by people and communities, such as the ethnobiology, ethnomedicine, and folk astronomy. Many people coined indigenous science, and according to Gribin, M. Kappa, and CBC, indigenous science is part of the indigenous knowledge system practiced by different groups of people and early civilizations, which is true because, as what I've known and noticed, most of the indigenous knowledge was being practiced, used, and transferred up until now because they believe that it stands as their guide for more innumerable interaction with the natural millennium and a coping strategies with changing environment that was according to Pawilen. Indigenous science includes everything from the metaphysics up until to philosophy and various technologies that was practiced by people in the past up until the present. That's according to Cajete. His idea was being elaborated by Iacarino by stating that science is a part of culture and how science is being done is depend on the culture practices of people. And according to Johnstone identified that indigenous belief develop desirable values that are relevant or consistent to scientific attitudes like motivating attitudes, cooperating attitudes, practical attitudes, and reflecting attitudes. Cultural belief can stand as a good foundation to develop the practices and learning of science and innovate it into next level. In Pawilan's concept of indigenous science, it shows there that indigenous science uses science process skills like observing, inferring, predicting, asking questions, constructing hypotheses, and etc. Also, it was guided by community, culture, value, and values. Lastly, indigenous science was composed of traditional knowledge,